Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. It is exactly 9:41. News and views with me, Julie Ali, right here on Salam Media. And it is Freedom Day. What does it mean for you? I'm sure our two guests on standby heard the tail end of my interview with the young man, and that, of course, is Tapelo Mohapi, Secretary General of Shack Dwellers Movement, Abahlali Basim Jondolo, talking about this day they are recognizing as Unfreedom Day. So let's get talking about, is South Africa a success story? 29 years of freedom. And our guests are, of course, Dr. Saths Cooper, whom I thoroughly enjoy talking with, and national leader of the ANC Youth Council, Khulekani Skosana. Very good morning to both of you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Okay, whilst I'm hard at work here today, hope you guys are enjoying Freedom Day. And let's start off by talking with you, Dr. Saths Cooper. Freedom Day, should we be celebrating it? And are we truly a success story? Because that's what it's all about, is it not? We look back in retrospect and we say it's almost 30 years of democracy. Can we say South Africa has got it right?
Well, the first thing is we should be celebrating it. And then the second is, what are we celebrating and what's the problem? In discussions like this, and when we look at our conditions, it's always easy to look at the little things and some of the bigger picture issues that impact on us. I think that we wouldn't be talking here if it weren't for freedom. The airwaves have become free, for instance. Our entire society, in many respects, opened up. The consequence of that has been the problems we've experienced, and in a very severe way, those came to a stark reality during COVID. The decay, the overwhelming domination by political factors are with us. So there's no discussions that happen without thinking about your own condition. And partly it's because we have, in democracy, trust and individualism, a self-serving, think about yourself first than anybody else. So I think that as we enter the 29th year of our democracy, we should have less reliance and dependency on others, especially self-serving political and other leadership, because there isn't that compassion, there isn't that caring, there isn't that commitment to the things that we want. We need to be thinking now, today and going forward, what is it we need and what is it we need with others, rather than I need to do X, I need to get this wealth immediately, because that kind of approach is exactly what our failed leadership at all levels in society. It's not merely the political. If you look at the social, the sporting, the recreational, the religious, and other aspects of life, the sense of community has been destroyed. We merely think of an ism, I, self, me, or to put it another way, an I specialist. I, myself, and I.
Right? Absolutely. Okay. Let me cross. Okay. Let me cross over to our young guest. I want to pick his brain because Khulekani Skosana, very good morning to you. Welcome once again. I want to understand, what are the aspirations of young people in a climate like this? We do know there's a lot of doom, gloom, and despair in South Africa. We hear about the ANC being accused of wholesale nepotism, cronyism, corruption, corruption, etc. We're also aware of the fact that unemployment rates amongst the youth is exceptionally high. There's so much of disillusionment that our crime rates are unequal to any other country in the world. How do you see the picture being the national leader of the ANC Youth League?
Thank you so much for having us. Look, we believe that 1994 was a moment to pacify South Africans, so that they stop the the fight that they were waging against oppression. What 1994 is a defeat of political oppression, where we gain political freedom, but it is not the end of the journey. And what we think happened in 1994, 29 years ago, is a missed opportunity by young people of that time and now to take over a baton. There are people who died, who sacrificed their lives so that we have an opportunity to live. And when we sit and complain to the government and do nothing about taking that baton that they left for us and running even faster than they did towards the final achievement of freedom, and not just political freedom, but the freedom to access and use the means of production in our country. We are a generation that knows too much about Amapiano and what is the latest brand of a BMW and Mercedes-Benz, but we don't understand the intricacies of turning or refining mineral resources into what is needed to build a BMW.
Okay,
We are
Khulekani,
more
let me come in here. Let me come in here. The issue here is really about the country almost being on its knees due to mass scale corruption. Fingers are being pointed directly at the ANC. We do know there's an upcoming election. Lots of promises will be made now. We also know that there are all these coalitions, smaller parties trying to form coalitions just to try and get the country back on the road. That doesn't seem to be working either, because it seems everybody is trying to get a piece of the pie. Hold that thought in your mind. Let's hear what Dr. Cooper has to say about my statement now. Dr. Cooper.
Yeah, that's the nitty gritty of some of the consequences. But I think Khulekani is absolutely spot on about the role and centrality of the majority in our country, and that's young people. At least 60% of our population is under 30. That's the constituency represented by Khulekani. And if the quality of leadership emulates Khulekani, we are going to have a massive success story. The Khulekanis of this world need to emerge, need to be supported by us. They don't need to be trampled by the older generation, who actually are a minority. I think it's less than 25% who are over 55 or so, some in this country. And yet, this minority dominates and thinks about their needs than looking at the majority need. The story about joblessness, etc., is a fake one, because we know that in this technology age, there are less jobs. So we should be reorienting our education and our training system to meet that need. We're perpetuating old systems, and we are not allowing the flowers to bloom as they should. In fact, we've got old fading trees dropping their leaves on us and littering our pathways. So we need to actually have that, change our approach and not get caught up in, does this politics work? Does that politics work? There is no recipe. That recipe needs to be crafted by us. And the system right now is a failed system because it was
Absolutely.
created for 94. It cannot meet the needs of the third decade of the 21st century. So we need a wholesale rethink about these. Otherwise, we'll be continuing to speak about the same things in 2, 3, 5 years' time. And that route lies further despondency and destruction.
Khulekani, let me come back to you now, and I'd like you to respond to that. Bearing in mind that Dr. Cooper has said that 60% of the population is under the age of 30, and we also know that half of that number are unemployed. Whose fault is that? Um, should government not be doing, government and big business be merging and start creating opportunities and jobs for these young people? Because if we look at the state of the nation, we look at the state of the country, we know that we are in deep trouble. So, as a young person, how do you believe we move forward on this matter?
As young people, we need to take some responsibility, especially on the progress that we expect in our country. The Nelson Mandelas of that time, they did not wait for government. Instead, their success was blocked by the government. I think if we are going to keep on expecting handouts from the government, we will not go anywhere. And it is us who must put pressure on government and tell it what it must do. Right now, you have Agenda 2063, which is written by people who will be in heaven by the time 2063 arrives. We are demanding that we be put on the table, and we are demanding that we be part of decision making. And for that to happen, we will not be invited. We have to demand our space, and demanding our space means participating, ensuring that we exploit the opportunities to education, and ensuring that the fight against unemployment is not only the responsibility of government. If we are to end unemployment as young people, the ideas around ending unemployment need to come from us. The ideas around ending load shedding in our country needs to come from us. The solutions need to come from us. We cannot all the time cry for milk from government. But with saying so, government must create the environment which will allow young people to sprout and flourish, and ensure that there is access to education, free education, which our heroes fought for. We are calling for the full implementation of the Freedom Charter, and if the elders maybe have become too tired to do that, we are ready. They have trained us, and we appreciate the education that we have received, but we are saying that it's time that we young people be included in the solution vehicle of our country. We
Okay.
will, if we want to be like other countries such as China, America, we must put young people at the forefront of resolving the challenges of our country.
All right, let me come in here now. You're talking about young people shouldn't expect handouts. Hungry stomachs can't be creative. You talk about being responsible and creative. If you're hungry, if there's no food on the table, you can't be creative. There's a small base of the population who carries the country through their tax. We're burdened by this tax that we're having to pay. You've got to think about a 12% tax base that is running the entire country. And then you also have these corrupt politicians that are pocketing half of that money. We need to hold government responsible. Are you saying that absolve government from the responsibility that they were voted in for? There's nothing to show for the past 29 years apart from bringing the country to its knees. Dr. Saths Cooper, would you like to respond to that, please?
I think that you see, we're stuck with um, an oppressive economic system that we haven't actually bothered to revise. I'm going to be kind and say revise rather than destroy and recreate. The result is what you're talking about. Because at the dawn of democracy, there was that opportunity to really, we had an RDP, that program, not these silly houses that people are talking about, really the opportunity to revision our society. Note that we are the second richest country on the continent in terms of resources, minerals, right? After the DRC. Now, we got to go back and look at 1885, 1886, the Congress on the Congo River Basin, and all those countries that were involved. United States, Canada, European countries were involved, and they carved out the continent. The DRC is facing civil war consistently. Since that time, the depredations continue. Here, Khulekani is absolutely right about some of the things, because we accepted their dominance economically. We included a Saths Cooper as the front, as a chair. We gave him shares. We now control him. We've got billionaires created by that handout.
Absolutely.
If you actually rethink the economy, the extractive economy, Thabo Mbeki started looking at it at a particular time, but lost focus. And that has not happened. The great ideas that came from the liberation movement were simply stultified by big capital in this country. So you got to hold big capital responsible for the extractive economy. Where's our refineries? Our refinery capacity has dropped in terms of gold, for instance. The gold standard was used until the early 70s, and then the petrodollar took over. Our manufacturing capacity has reduced. Why? Because capital has flown its resources out. They've been their holdings.
Dr.
Many
Cooper,
of them
I need
are
to
abroad.
come in here. I need to come in here. When you say that the gold resources, everything's come to a standstill, large sums of money, billions upon billions of rands has left the country, it is with the collusion. I mean, there
yes,
were
no
top
doubt.
government ministers, etc., that colluded with large capitalists to
Sure.
get money out of the country. Let me bring you in, Khulekani. We need so much more time for this discussion. Would you say that government has to be absolved of the responsibilities that they were voted in for? They take home fat cat salaries every year with all of the other benefits that they own. But you and I, the ordinary layperson on the street, have to pay our taxes, and we see degradation all around us. What do you say to that? You with the Youth League, shouldn't you have a louder voice to make government accountable?
Surely, government must be held responsible, and it must be put under pressure. And we think that the fight against corruption must continue. And those fat cats you speak of that is responsible for stealing the resources of the people must be put in jail. It's very simple. We don't need to beat about the bush. But however, as young people, as young South Africans, we also need to take some responsibility. Government provides the opportunity for education, but however, at least 65% of NSFAS students drop out. Um, we are lax, we don't vote, and sometimes the rights that we have in our country come with responsibilities. We've got a right to education, but we've got a responsibility to pass. We've got a right to the benefits that are there for young people, but we've got a responsibility to use them correctly and leave those opportunities for other people. So as much as government must be held to account, and it must be held responsible, so do I as a citizen of this country. I've got a responsibility to love my country. I cannot be burning down libraries and whenever I am angry. I cannot be stealing cables, copper, whenever I feel like government is not doing much. Let us love our country and let us hold government responsible. It's a two-way street. we also take part in building our country by loving it and being patriotic, but government must be held responsible and fight corruption and ensure that the people who steal from the jar of society or the people must be put to book. We say that as South African loving young people, let us ensure that we not only expect the government to end unemployment by giving us jobs, we also have an entrepreneurial mindset so that we also are able to hire our peers by creating jobs ourselves. And government will not be able to do all these things for us. We also need to ensure that through the education that we have, we are able to combine our ideas, and we need to start buying South African. Some of the reasons why companies and businesses are not succeeding is because South Africans many a times choose to support foreign brands. If you want my bakery to succeed, you need to buy the bread. If you
Okay,
want my clothing
let me
label to
come in
succeed,
here.
buy
Let's
clothes.
also, Khulekani, let's be realistic. People who can afford foreign brands are a minority in the country. You need to be earning top dollar to spend top dollar. Most of our youth, all of these supposed top brands that we believe they're wearing or buying is really Hong Kong goods. You know it and I know it too. But be that as it may, you talk about the education system. We know that the education department has a lot to answer to. I mean, their pass rate has dropped so low. What do you expect when the dropout rate is so high? Those young kids that come out of the education system and go to tertiary are not supposed to be there because the standards have dropped so poorly, so low. And you as the youth need to be addressing that in a huge way. Having said that, let me come back to you. We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes' time. Dr. Saths Cooper, do you believe, do you want to respond, but short and sharp, to what I've just stated here now? And do you believe that South Africa is a success story? Because I
Look,
don't.
now, look, first of all, our democracy and its advent is a success. Let's start there. We did not do a real transformation of the society. We tinkered with it, including what you are just raising, the educational system. We tinkered with it. We did not refashion it according to the needs of a different population than the one we emerged from in 94, where everyone had equal rights. Everyone should have a place in the sun. We just tinkered with all these systems, and the problems we have now is the tinkering instead of the serious transformation of what we found. And that is the problem. So we're looking at consequences rather than saying what are the basic causes. Basic causes are exactly the lack of will, commitment to deliver on those big issues that Khulekani is talking about. So it is up to, I'm afraid that unless younger, brighter minds emerge and take the reins, we'll still be talking about these issues. So I think it's time to air the views of Khulekani, young people who are, yeah, and he's talking about it's not only rights, but it's responsibilities. Now, many young people want to scoff at that. Things are handed to you through NSFAS. The dependency mentality continues. I'm not opposed to basic income support and basic nutritional support, open and free access to health and education, but a better quality so that people really are developed. So I think we're dealing with symptoms. We're not looking at the causes, and government is our servant. We should not be theirs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you talk about basic nutrition at school level. Just this morning on the news, by my colleague here, Zai Jadwood, he indicated that the service provider that got the contract to supply food to school going children in KZN, I think there's been some problem there. And for the past couple of months, those kids have not been given meals at school. And that contract runs into the billions. So one shudders when we hear all of these stories. Let's get back to you, Khulekani, and your thoughts on everything that Dr. Saths Cooper has said and all of the statements that I've been making throughout the show this morning. Is there the political will by young people? Will they start going into government and other areas of employment with a mentality that I want to become rich overnight? Or will they go in to serve the people?
As young people, especially those in the liberation movement, we are fixated with assisting our government with solutions to ending unemployment, especially the high rate of unemployment in our country. We think that young people do have the energy to participate in building our country, but we must be given that platform, and we are demanding that platform. We are saying that young people must be at the echelons of decision making. And we are saying that to end the challenges of our country, we need to understand that 1994 was not about complete freedom, it was merely political freedom. We were given a microphone. We want the means of production. We want to control the mineral resources of our country, and we need access to land. And that is our conversation with the ANC. How do we amenably talk about land and ensure that young people have access and opportunity to be farmers and to grow their own food, and as well as understand the processes which involve transforming our mineral resources into refined, and instead of our country selling raw materials abroad and buying finished products, we need to look at selling final or finished products, and we need to export more than we import. So for us to get there, we cannot just be studying marketing and HR. We need our educational facilities to be versatile and move with the times. The technological times where we live in a virtual world. And we are just saying that for government to understand this, it is young people who must bring these ideas, and we're having that constant conversation with our government, and we are encouraging all young South Africans not to be despondent. President Nelson Mandela does not say that the long walk to freedom is the end of the walk. A luta continua. We still have a fight. We still have to fight against economic oppression and ensure that we not only have the freedom of speech and the freedom of walking about the city, but we do have the freedom to access to the mineral wealth that is beneath the soil that our forefathers died for, so we can have the opportunity. The baton has been handed to us. We need to take the baton and run faster
Okay.
than our heroes did.
All right. Finally, short and sharp answer. Do you believe that South Africa is a success story, and how do we actually move forward? And I think the all important question is the elections are around the corner. Do you think there's hope for the ANC? Do you think they're going to get the majority vote? Khulekani, short and sharp answer. Your thoughts, being obviously the national leader of the Youth League.
I think so. I think the ANC will win. However, it takes young people such as myself working hard to speak to South Africans and to engage them that we are there and we are getting rid of those corrupt thorns in the ANC, and we need more young people to be involved. And me, I decided to be the solution that I want to see in the liberation movement of Oliver Tambo. If we are to resolve and turn the ANC into its former glory, we need to be involved and we need to transform it. And we are here. I'm young, and I invite other young people to join the ANC so that we transform it. We will not change the liberation movement by getting rid of it. We need to cleanse it of the illicit and the people that are there for criminal intentions. We're here to get rid of them, and we are a replacement
Oh,
which will ensure that the
okay.
glory and legacy of President Mandela lives on.
Please God, yes,
ANC
but
will win.
I haven't seen any cleansing happening yet. You need to give me the proof of that. Let's get to you, Dr. Saths Cooper,
Yeah,
and wrap up.
yeah, I can,
Unfortunately,
I can, I
with
can fully support Khulekani in that quest. I think it's the right quest. I think that the definitely the ANC will emerge as the majority. By how much is the question. I
I wish
think
I
that
can share your sentiments. I'm sorry to
no,
say that, but continue.
that's going to be a reality, and you know, you just got
Okay.
to look at the coalition failures, and more people are going to say, why should I vote for this and why should I vote for that? So the ANC will be the majority. By what margin is the question.
Okay.
If we've got that caliber of leadership like Khulekani, I think there's hope. I think if with that kind of direct approach and commitment and principle, the ANC can be changed from within. For the rest of us, I think we need to not lose our agency. We need to actually, in our small ways, do the things we can. We can't
Okay.
all be Khulekani leading a massive structure. In our neighborhoods, we need to show that compassion, that caring, because all our scriptures talk of we are our brothers and sisters keepers. We do not an oppressor or an oppressed be, says the holy book, the Quran. And that
Absolutely.
is what we should be doing. Don't lose the agency. Don't be dependent. And you can emerge. Young people who are the majority need to register to vote and need to change this system. Otherwise, we, at the older generation, cannot do it because we're expiring. We've got limited life left. So
Absolutely.
that future is in the hands of young people, and they're going to take us to that next level. And that success can come if there's the kind of commitment and vision of Khulekani and others like him.
Sure, definitely my final question. Short, sharp answer from both of you. 29 years of freedom. Is South Africa a success story? Khulekani.
South Africa is a success story, but the story is not complete. We still need to fight for more success, and we can only do it by working together and keeping the pieces together. We've achieved so much. Universities are built, greater life expectancy, and so much more. But it's not enough, and our people are running impatient, and we need to expedite the success of this story. But South Africa is a success story, and there's no better place to live in the entire world than our beloved country.
Okay, the one thing that stood with me and will remain with me for a long, long time, Khulekani, is the pearl of wisdom that you dropped here during the interview, and that is young people should not burn down our libraries, our hospitals, our schools, our homes, and our infrastructure. How do we get that message across to them? Think about it, and you can respond to me. Perhaps if they do allow me a minute or two, just think about that. Dr. Saths Cooper, are we a success story at all, or do we have a long, long way to go?
Well, as I said right at the beginning, we wouldn't be here if our democracy didn't work. We wouldn't be talking like this. There'd be no Salam media. It'll be the state broadcaster. We know that.
Absolutely.
Now, all those things have opened up. That opening up is incomplete and needs serious next level visioning. And that, I think, is coming from young people like Khulekani. And we need to encourage and support them rather than holding them back. I should not be in his way. None of us should be in his way. We
Absolutely.
should actually encourage that leadership instead of those self-seeking persons in the political space, just look at the November 2021 elections. They were a joke because all sorts of people jumped into the fray. And politics is the new economic activity. It shouldn't be. All those things that all of us are talking about should be that economic activity. We need less political involvement and leadership, and we need more economic, community, social, and other leadership to get this country to the next level and continue and solidify those few gains we have made. Otherwise, we will lose it.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Saths Cooper. Khulekani, do you want to respond to that final question of mine? How do we conscientize youth to not destroy valuable resources in our country, schools, hospitals, libraries, etc., etc., etc.? And you are at the forefront, you're in the right place. How do you do it?
History should be a compulsory subject in our schools, because to know where you are going, you need to know where you come from. And the spirit of volunteerism has died, and patriotism doesn't exist among the youth of South Africa. So we need to teach young people to volunteer in cleaning and keeping these facilities safe. They need to be involved in taking care of these facilities so that they understand how important these facilities are. So whenever there are challenges, disasters, and so on, we wait for NGOs to come and help when we have hands and we are fully built. So young people should be encouraged to love their country, and it's only through education from an early age. The reason I love my country so much is because I was taught about its beauty and its riches and what other people have done for me to be here. And I think that if we inculcate that knowledge, then young people will know that they must love South Africa just as South Africa loves them. So volunteerism and patriotism, love of country is important. And we will, instead of burning down facilities, we will assist in maintaining them and keeping them safe. So education and history as a compulsory subject, so we know where we come from and we can be part of drawing the future of where we, or the path of where we are going.
Okay, that was Khulekani Skosana, national leader of the ANC Youth League. Undoubtedly a young man to keep our eyes on. You go well. Keep those dreams alive, Khulekani. Thank you indeed. And to you, Professor Saths Cooper, always a pleasure talking with you. Till the next time, have a wonderful Freedom Day and God bless. Take care and assalamu alaikum to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, big shout out to my production team this morning. That, of course, is you, Naz Naidu and Abdul Salam Jinjar. Thank you for the production. I will be back with you on Monday, Workers' Day, and I'll be working. Can you believe that? I will be working on Workers' Day. Hey, but some of us do have to put bread on the table. What can I say? Time for me to wrap up. Have a wonderful holiday. As always, take care on the roads. Until we meet again. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.